I will pray for you. Keep me in your prayers. So often, those phrases are tossed out during a casual goodbye, or especially when trouble is on the loose, or when some worry hovers in the air. And they are perhaps forgotten as soon as the next person or crisis pops up into our minds. A businessman needed an additional $500,000 to clinch an important deal. So on his way, he got into a church to pray for the money. And by chance, he knelt next to a man who was praying for $100 to pay off an urgent debt. The businessman, hearing the other man's prayer, took out immediately his wallet and pressed $100 into the other man's hand. Overjoyed, the man thanked God and the businessman, then got up and left the church. The businessman then closed his eyes and prayed, "And now, Lord, now that I have your undivided attention, help me with what I need." Robert, a cook, a president of a college in New York, once spoke at the Moody Bible Convention Institute, and Cook said that the day before he had been at a Washington gathering and talked with the then Vice President George Bush. And he said he had spoken briefly with President Ronald Reagan 2 hours later. And then smiling broadly, he said, "But that's nothing. Today, I talked with God." These examples of two men at prayer, a businessman and a college president, can teach us much about Christian prayer. They show us that even top-level executives and professionals still make time to pray. However, they also highlight an issue that today's gospel focuses on: the proper disposition for Christian prayer. And in both instances, we see that God is portrayed as a big boss who gives us whatever we ask. Is that the best disposition for Christian prayer? The disciples saw Jesus praying and waited until he was finished. There must have been something extraordinary about his prayer. And that's why they asked him, teach us also how to pray. Teach us to pray as you are doing it." The disciples' request to Jesus, "Lord, teach us to pray," can be understood as a quest for the proper disposition for Christian prayer. And Jesus' reply can be summarized in one sentence: the appropriate disposition for Christian prayer is the disposition of a child before its father. When you pray, say, "Our Father." Many of us have grown up with an approach to prayer that involves asking God for things, offering a variety of novenas and prayers, pleading and bartering. We may become embarrassed when we treat God like the emergency ward doctor coping with our casualties. To pray as Christians is to put ourselves in a situation where we see God as a father and speak to him as his children. And when children talk to their parents, there is no right or wrong way. They focus on one thing: to put into words and body language what they feel in their hearts. Speaking of prayer as a father-child relationship finally reminds us that prayer is an activity that flows out of a relationship. We do not learn how to pray better. We become better men and women of prayer when our relationship with God becomes more intimate, like that of a father and a child. If you want to improve your prayer, focus on improving your personal relationship with God, our Father. True Christian prayer is not about getting things from God, but deepening our relationship with Him as His beloved children.